I'm Ben Putley. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Alkimi. We are an ad exchange that is built on chain. What we're doing and what I'll talk to you about over the next... I just think we're going to go through 3 slides here, but you don't need this. Yeah, there we go. Boom, right. We're going to start with a brief history lesson. We're then going to go through to the issues and what is actually wrong with advertising as it exists today. And then we're going to introduce Adfi. So, if you will, cast your mind back to 1999, where we sent messages on bricks like this. We didn't have to worry about chargers. QWERTY keyboards were not a thing, and Snake was the best game by a long stretch that was out at the time. PlayStations didn't exist. We've come a long way from a wired controller here to the Sui Play that people have been playing on outside. We've come a very long way. And the internet looked like this. It was the very early days. You would argue this is Web 1. And with Web 1, what was given birth to was a cookie. Not this exact type of cookie, but the cookie that was used to store information about what you did on the web. Whether that was putting items in a shopping basket, whether that was going back to a certain part of a website, it really started to give people an idea of what was taking place on this new technology, the internet. And what that gave birth to was something called programmatic advertising. Now, this is the instantaneous auctions that take place nearly every time you go onto a website, where advertisers are bidding for your attention to show you the latest and greatest product. But this infrastructure is 30 years old. Not much has been innovated in this time. We're seeing technology that was used when Snake was big, when controllers were wired, and the internet was a grey and dark place. And that infrastructure is broken. There are numerous people that sit between a buyer and a seller of an ad. People have no idea actually what is taking place, with just 5% of ad transactions being transparent. 43% is lost to tech fees. And payouts for the revenue that's accrued by people that are selling ads on the internet can take at least 60 days, if not more. But it's supporting $700 billion of spend this year. By the end of the decade, it will be over $1 trillion, which makes up the global advertising industry. And it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to us. I don't think it should make a whole lot of sense to you to be using infrastructure that's 30 years old to power a $700 billion market. So over the last 4 years, we've been building Alkimi, a digital marketplace built on chain that provides advertisers and publishers to buy and sell ads in real time to solve all of the issues that I've just kind of briefly mentioned. We provide complete transparency. So for the first time, you as a buyer of an ad can see all of the fees that were taken by whom using a ledger. So you have an immutable record of what took place when you were buying your ad inventory online. We've reduced the fees. So fees have gone from 43% to between 3 and 8%. So if you are an advertiser, you now get more media for your money. If you're a publisher, you get more revenue for the ads that you're selling online. And we've reduced the time to pay out to 0 days, providing publishers with the ability to access the hard-earned revenue from the ads that they've sold online. And I think it's always important to not just trust me, but trust some of the brands that you can see up here that have started to see the value of buying ads on chain, of understanding how their money's being spent, and actually being able to access their audiences much more efficiently, much more cost effectively, with certainty on the fees that have been taken between the buyer and the seller. We are in fact a preferred partner of Coca-Cola, so we're one of 3 ad exchanges that they use globally to target everyone in the world with a mouth. We also work very closely with an agency called Publicis. They represent a lot of the brands here and really starting to help them understand that there is a better, more efficient way to buying ads. And it's quite timely. This has been going on for quite a long time. I think I've made this joke a few times today, but whenever your company name becomes a verb, it's probably clear that you may or may not be operating a monopoly. Now, this is not just for search related, but Google actually run one of the biggest, most kind of prolifically used ad tech platforms. Most publishers will use their ad server, and they really were the judge, jury, and executioner. And that has been kind of seen to be a monopoly. So we're now at a point where not only are brands starting to test this, but courts are mandating that there needs to be a serious consideration into the types of platforms they're using to purchase ads and the types of platforms that they're using to sell their ads. So what I want to do now is introduce you to a concept called Adfi. Adfi is the new financial layer for advertising. It's built on chain. It transforms media spend into capital efficient asset, not just a cost. Now there's quite a lot to unpack there, so I will take you through it. Advertising, as I've been talking about, has very low transparency, very high fees, but a huge transactional throughput. There are billions and billions and billions of ad transactions that have taken place whilst I've been on stage talking to you guys this afternoon. There is, as I said, $700 billion of pounds that are spent online every single year. And now if you compare this to finance or DeFi, DeFi is great. It has very, very low fees. It has complete transparency of all the transactions that are taking place. But in some instances can suffer from variability in those yields, volatility in the underlying token. Yields can come from treasury emissions. And what we do when we combine both DeFi with advertising is take the best of both. So we allow for access to a $700 billion market with a sustainable yield that comes from a high transaction flow industry like advertising. Now, what that actually means is that if you're an advertiser and you have idle budgets, they can generate yield. Sellers of ads can now access liquidity instantly, and liquidity providers can actually fund the gap between the two to create marketplace efficiency and earn yield. Now that's quite important for the following reasons. At the moment, advertisers spend their money and it disappears into a black box. Through the work that we've done to gain product market fit, we've now earned the right to have the conversations with people that allow us to help them make their marketing budgets work harder. There's no yield, there's no transparency. So really, whilst the money's being spent, the money's being spent. Now, what we can do is use that same media budgets to flow through on-chain protocols to help them generate yield. If you imagine that a marketing budget lasts for 12 months and it's, let's say, for argument's sake, $1 million. Those $1 million aren't spent on day one. They're spent collectively throughout the year. But whilst they're waiting to be spent, they're not really doing anything for that entity. Now, by bringing those on chain and helping provide liquidity to what is a very illiquid marketplace, those budgets can grow by being utilized on chain. So whilst the campaign's running, their capital works. So not only are they now acquiring users, changing people's attention on brands, generating purchase intent, really everything up and down the funnel, they're now able to generate yield to exponentially increase the impact of what's taking place. And now if we think about Adfi for publishers, the people at the end of the chain, and now I have sold to some of the biggest publishers in the world, and they will often complain that they typically eat last. There is, remember a few slides ago, a ton of people that sit between the buyer of the ad, the seller of the ad, pardon me, and the buyer of the ad. Now, they are at the end of 60-day payment terms, and that can be up to 4 partners worth of 60-day payment terms. They end up waiting a long time to receive their cash. When they do finally receive it, it's very little of the cake left. In some instances, well, on average, it's 43%, but we've seen examples where that can be considerably higher. Having been personally on both sides of the fence, I know that the 43% is very much the mean, and there are instances where a significant chunk of ad budgets are lost to fees. And they're also only able to access very basic and aggregate reporting. So really, the TLDR here is they're creating the content, They're putting that together in editorial pieces that live online. They're reporting on the news. They're reporting on technology, like really a key part in what is keeping the internet open and access to information free. They're not getting paid for. So with Adfi, they can retain up to 95% of your ad revenue. So getting paid more for the content they're creating. They can access those funds sooner. So they're like any other business, they need to make payroll, they need to pay developers, they want to grow their business, they want to create new ad products, all in aid of creating content online, which is a very noble cause. And also now we're showing them exactly what's taking place, how much these fees are, putting them in control of the fees that are being taken, really allowing them to regain sovereignty of the ad units that they're selling online and allowing for them to grow their business in a sustainable way. And now I've spoken a lot about kind of the B2B aspect of what we do with Adfi. We're providing yield for advertisers. We're providing a better product and access to capital for people that are selling ads online. But now what does that mean for us sat in this room? I don't think there's many people that run an ad tech company. I think there's two in the front that I can see. But apart from that, not many people are running ad exchanges. Maybe some of you are creating content online. But for the layman, there really is no access to what is an enormous $700 billion ad market that's very similar to financial trading markets. It's high frequency trading of ad units that require liquidity to take place. And also your data is being bought and sold online. Really, at the moment, the only kind of trade-off there has been you get free content. But I think with the plethora of free content online now, that trade doesn't really start to make sense. And what you've seen over the last, I would say 10 years or so, is the proliferation of ad blockers online where people just said no to ads, which again is no good for the people that are creating content because now they don't get paid at all. You've also seen regulators, particularly in Europe, come in and say, actually, the way that people's data is being handled online is incorrect. And you've had legislation like the GDPR in Europe and then the CCPA in California, where people have to be more responsible, businesses have to be more responsible with the way in which that they serve ads online. So with Adfi, you as someone that uses the internet with no access to a $700 billion market can do that. You can help provide the liquidity that helps this marketplace take place. You can earn yields from 8 to 22%. And really, I think the key point here is that you can help fund the open internet. You can make sure that content is freely accessible online, that journalists can report on what's going on in the world and ensure that anyone, no matter where they are or who they are, can access free, impartial content online. So yeah, just to summarize Adfi, because this is one of the first times that we've been talking about this, is advertisers get yield, publishers get paid instantly, and liquidity grows with every single transaction that takes place, with every campaign that runs across our ad exchange. And at the moment, we work with 40 advertisers. We work with some great ones. We work with large media agencies. So really, this number is going to grow. This is going to allow the flywheel to kick off in a meaningful way. And then also, really, again, just to drill home why this does matter, is that if you are the founder of a DeFi company or any kind of blockchain project, it allows you to help expand the audience that your project is available to get to by becoming an advertiser and generating yield from your ad budgets. It also allows you, if you have a number of users and you're looking to generate another stream of revenue, to monetize that as a publisher and get paid for ads that you serve on your DApp, on your website, whatever it is that you're creating. And then if you're a builder, we're looking to have people help us build the stuff that we can't build. Like, we would love to build everything, but I think in the spirit of creating a platform, there'll be ways in which people think about this that we don't. So we encourage you to come and figure out a new way to target an ad, or the way in which you could use a wallet as an ID, or an interesting way that we can take liquidity from another protocol and add that into Adfi. We are all ears. We'd love to speak to you and figure out exactly how we can make this a bigger, more wholesome platform. And lastly, if you are just a DeFi user, you can imagine this as a new asset class. this is a new way for you to gain access to the yield that could be generated from a $700 billion ad market. And I always say that most companies on the internet end up becoming an ad tech company anyway. Facebook is an ad tech company, or Meta is an ad tech company, pardon me. Google is an ad tech company. I think OpenAI will slowly become an ad tech company. So really, everyone monetizes stuff online. And what we are creating here is a much better way, a much more efficient, a much more transparent way for you to buy and sell ads on the internet, for you to access that yield if you're a DeFi user or just a liquidity provider, and really ensure that the internet remains free and open to everyone that wants to access it online. Thank you very much for listening to me this afternoon. I hope you found that interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's so quite a niche topic, so yeah. We'll be hanging around afterwards, but yeah, thank you for your time.
I'm not going to let you come off stage just yet, Ben.
Okay, fine.
I have a couple of questions, and I hope our audience has questions too.
Sure.
So you showed us a fabulous slide with who the advertisers are.
Yes.
So we've got all of these familiar everyday brands. Mm-hmm. Where, outside of kind of the opportunity for DeFi applications themselves to become ad publishers, where are you placing those ads today? Where might we come across that content that Alkimi is facilitating into, the apps that we're using?
So we work with people like the Financial Times, we work with the Regular Times, we work with people like GQ, like Vogue. More and more so, we're working a lot with blockchain companies that are looking to kind of plug the gap between their endorsement type deals they do and performance advertising, of which display ads, video ads, ads on connected TV do a really good job of. So we're growing our crypto network of publishers. So we work with people like CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap, Decrypt. Had a great conversation with the Coin Bureau guys earlier. We'd love to get them in the network as well. So really it is like all of the places that are serving good content. We're also looking to work with a number of streaming platforms. There's one called Tubi, which we're in the process of locking down, which would give us access to 90 million Americans, 1 in 4 Canadians, and a whole host of people on their TVs at home, which is like a really compelling ad format. It's probably weird to say that ad formats are compelling, but if you're an ad guy, they certainly are. And yeah, I think really just both crypto and non-crypto users, depending on which angle you want to come at, we really do cover the board there. So yeah, it's a long answer.
Awesome. You've answered my second question there. So opening the floor, if anyone has questions, I will come over here with the microphone. Hello.
Hi, Ben. Great talk. I love seeing you develop over the time. You meant as someone that likes to buy ads.
Yeah.
You mentioned OpenAI becoming an ad company.
Yeah.
How do we advertise there, and what's that going to look like? And it's definitely something we're thinking about. And how does that connect with you?
That is a good question. I hope they don't become another walled garden, but I suspect that is probably the way it will go. I think that product recommendations will be a big thing. Like, you've already probably seen it if you've used it. It's like, do you want me to build this out in Notion or Google Sheets, or you can set up this VPS on DigitalOcean, like it's starting to maybe just through learning recommend certain brands, but I'm almost certain that will become some kind of recommendation in the future. I think the key to unlocking that, in my opinion, is that the AI crowd talks a lot about AI, not so much about blockchain. And people in blockchain talk a lot about AI because I think they understand the programmability and composability of a smart contract as it relates to payments that an agent can interact with. Now, I don't think that banks will be rushing to do that anytime soon. There won't be any agentic flows that you can create as a third party and access HSBC to send money around, right? But you can certainly do that with stable coins on a smart contract. So that interaction where a wallet is used within OpenAI and perhaps on the wider internet will allow for much tighter attribution models on how ads are spent, and then richer data sets for which you can target people based off of things that they may have searched that have been stored in a wallet that now exists on, I don't know, when you go to buy something off your favorite, whatever it is, website, So I think that blockchain is really the key to take stuff out of those walled gardens through payments and then deliver them across the rest of the internet, because I think AI will probably kill the long tail of the internet. So like 25 celebrities that stepped over a puddle, it's like no one really cares about what's happening there, but the brands that will exist are people like the Financial Times, where like you go to them for a reason, or people like TechCrunch or GQ, or the broadcasters like Paramount or Warner Brothers, you know, like people that have created brand value that are permanent, not just the people that have regurgitated content to try and like game the system as far as monetization is concerned. And that is where wallets will become a key part of that. So yeah.